I came to know the Organization for Black Struggle around 2004. Before that, I'd say the moment of politicalization had begun for me in high school. It's like the older you got, the more likely you were to be criminalized. And as we came of age, we began to question why that was and push back more and more. But by the time I'd already gotten to OBS, they'd been fighting these things. OBS actually came into existence in 1980 as an organization, but they actually started fighting like the year before that in Kinloch, which is one of these small communities, fighting the same thing, meaning another police shooting, another death. Another thing for you to note in terms of actually understanding the roots of this crisis, like I know here in New York you have a variety of organizations that are actually fighting. You don't always get along, and that's all right, because you still have the culture. OBS came into existence in a span of time in which there was really a vacuum of folks that were directly confronting police violence. There was a vacuum. Those organizations had pretty much been wiped out by COINTELPRO. So there were still actors on the scene who came together, and they knew there was a need, not only amongst to deal with police violence, but to deal with economic injustice, to deal with political disenfranchisement, to really create and express a hard front for cultural dignity. That's why they actually formed OBS. So in the wake of that immediate vacuum, they began to start doing some of the work that we've been called to do in this period, meaning actually investigating crimes, organizing communities to confront it. But what soon happened was they didn't have the capacity to continue doing this full time. So their work shifted to really pushing more policy and organizing united fronts to take on the burden of the work. Over the course of what's now, we celebrate our 35th anniversary in January. We've become one of the few players in the realm of activists in St. Louis that really have strong, deep, abiding relationships across the spectrum. Whether we're talking in the Black liberation community, in labor, in the left, progressive whites, we had those relationships. So moving into the next phase, when August 9th actually happened, that day we'd actually just done a sum-up meeting for the location we were. Our office is actually situated in the city in one of the poorest wards in the city. And we'd done canvassing where we'd actually talked to the residents about what they wanted to see happen. And they were more concerned about housing than they were about the police, just because of the conditions they lived in. Once we got the news, we deployed out there. And thankfully, citizens were already taking the lead in terms of calling people to the space, saying that they wanted to resist. Now, in all the years we've been organizing, the year before that, Kerry Ball Jr. had been executed by a police officer in the street. He got shot in somewhere between 20 to 25 times. The maximum amount of people I think we turned out at any given time may have been 40 to 50. By the time we got to Canfield, we couldn't get inside. So most of us ended up deploying to the police station, which became like a standard space. That evening, I think maybe about 200 people showed up. The next day, those numbers grew to like 400 or 500. And by that evening, when what started off as a vigil, and I need to be clear about this because the news will have you think that it started just as mass rioting. The event we all attended was a vigil that occurred inside Canfield. I can't tell you the number. I know it had to be somewhere between 1,500 to 1,000 people between what was actually inside of Canfield and what was outside on West Florissant, which is the main street just outside the apartment set. They'd flooded the streets. The vigil took place. It was peaceful. The family was there. They were supported. This was community. But the rage was already bubbling over in the streets.